The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. Gosh, I'm glad you're here. We got a big day planned for you. I'm very excited. I'm Shannon Penrod. We are coming to you live from the Warner Center in Woodland Hills, California. This is the new home for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters, and it is also the new home of Autism Live. We've just recently moved into our new studio. It's getting more and more done. When we get all the way done, we'll give you guys a tour so that you can see exactly what the new studio looks like. It's very exciting for us to be here, but even more exciting for us to be with you and to continue to be with you. We're doing a live show today. We'll be with you live for the next 2 hours, and then we won't be with you live again until next Thursday, a week from today. And that's because there's a whole lot of celebrating going on with the Autism Live crew this week. As you know, last Friday, my son turned 12, and tomorrow he is graduating from his elementary school program, and this is a very exciting day for us. By the way, all of it in completely mainstreamed education. Very exciting that he has reached this milestone. Don't ask me where he's going to school next year because I don't know, and it makes me want to jump off the nearest bridge to even think about it, right? But that comes, we'll worry about that another day. It's time to celebrate. And also, we are celebrating today and for the next couple of days because Mr. Kelby Wood, who we love and adore, is having a birthday on Monday. And since we won't be here on Monday, join me in wishing Kelby a happy birthday. We had Mango Madness already this morning, and we're all a little bit on a mango buzz at the moment. I will post a picture here during the next break so that you guys can see why I'm referring to it as Mango Madness. But it was great. So, and we're thrilled to celebrate Kelby being on the planet another year because he makes it better every day. In any case, lots to celebrate. So we're here this Thursday, and then we're here next Thursday, and that's the last show for the next week. And then we'll be back I think it's the 30th of June. So get your fill now of Autism Live. Yes, I've had a lot of mango, but thrilled to be here with you. Okay, now one of the things that I like to talk about at the start of the show is that the entire show is meant to be interactive. We want you to participate with us. If we could have sent you mangoes, we would have. But in any case, we want to hear your questions, your comments, and hear what's going on with you and how you feel about what we have here on the show. So Kelby, the birthday gentleman, is going to show you some of the different ways that you can connect with us and some of the different ways that you can be tuning into the show. While he does that, I will remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. When you go there, so much to do. Please check out our blog, but also sign up for our email list. And of course, on our live site, you can be watching a live show or the most recently recorded live show. In fact, you can be watching the most recent 100 episodes of the show just by clicking on the playlist up in the upper left-hand corner, excuse me. Now, to the side of where you can watch the show is what we call the live feature. It's a series of white boxes. If you put your cursor in the one that says your question, all you have to do is type and hit enter. You don't have to log in. You don't have to remember a username or a password. I really love that about it. It just instant gratification. You push send and it goes. It does take a couple of minutes to get here to me, so I do ask that when you're asking a question of one of our experts that's with us, and we have many, that you ask early so that I have time to see it before they have to leave, because often I don't see it until they're out the door. So send that early. It's totally free. We don't know who you are. You have complete anonymity. It does help, though, if you give us some information, especially if you're looking for resources, if you tell us where in the world you are, perhaps the closest city to you, and give us as much specific information as you can. Now, I mentioned that we have experts on the show, and we try to bring you a wide variety of experts so that you can get questions answered. I like to remind you at the start of the show that I, however, am not, and let's be very clear about that, I am not one of the experts on the show. I'm a parent and I'm a former teacher, and heaven help me, I have a passion for this subject, largely, really selfishly, because I have a 12-year-old who's on the autism spectrum. So of course I want to learn, because he is the light of my life. Him and his dad. Boy, do I love those boys. But I want to learn how to be a better person on my son's team. So I'm learning. And I think of myself as a switchboard operator here, that you tell me what it is you're looking for, and I just try to find the right place to put the connector so that you can get hooked up to information that you need, and I learn along the way. It's totally free, right? For all of us, which is a wonderful thing. So don't mistake me for an expert, but please ask questions and participate with us, right? All right, we like to start every morning with something we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym, and we try to figure out, what are these people talking about? And why are they talking about this? And is this really important enough for me to have to learn a new term? That's usually my litmus test. Is this important enough that I have to expand my brain and know what this is? Today's term, certainly we need to understand what this is. We've never done this before on the show, this particular jargon term. It is theory of mind. What's really fascinating, you'll see that this has a very interesting connection for us. So let's take a look at what an actual definition of theory of mind is. And this is a direct quote from Simon Baron-Cohen, and I'll explain why that might sound familiar to you. TOM, theory of mind, is being able to infer the full range of mental states, beliefs, desires, intentions, imagination, emotions, etc., that cause action. In brief, having theory of mind is to be able to reflect on the contents of one's own and others' minds. That's from Simon Baron-Cohen, who is a relative of Sacha Baron-Cohen. Isn't that fascinating? I remember the first time hearing it thinking, wait a minute, is this the guy who does the crazy movies and throws dirt on top of Ryan Seacrest on the red carpet? But it's not. I believe they're cousins. Isn't that fascinating? We're going to be talking a little bit more about Simon Baron-Cohen is somebody who is pretty pivotal in talking about theory of mind, in particular the Sally Ann test. So we'll talk about that a little later on, because it's a pretty mind-expanding way to look at autism. Okay, so this is our actual definition of theory of mind. Let's take a stab at a more watered-down version, a working definition of theory of mind. Theory of mind is being able to understand the idea of thinking and recognizing what you are thinking is not what others are thinking. So when we talk about theory of mind and this whole concept that it's perspective taking, right? That you can have your thoughts and be having them, and it's a personal experience, but it affects what you do and what actions you take and how sometimes you treat other people and how you behave towards other people. But other people are having their own internal experience too. And once we key into the fact that our thoughts are not their thoughts, then we start looking at their actions to try to extrapolate what are they thinking. When we do that, there's a further step along the way that we can sometimes change our actions to see if we can get them to have a different perspective to change their actions. It really gets like an Alice in Wonderland series of mirrors of who's thinking about what and how are we affecting it. But it is important to note that this is an area that sometimes is a huge deficit for individuals with autism, and that it doesn't have to be. That we have seen many people on the autism spectrum gain skills in the arena of theory of mind. And that is very exciting. So if you have an individual in your life that is on the autism spectrum that seems not to notice what other people are thinking and feeling and doesn't know how to regulate themselves to be respectful of, sometimes our individuals on the autism spectrum get accused of having no empathy. And I think sometimes that's a disservice. I don't think that they don't have empathy, but they might not know how to process it and understand cues and clues that are coming in. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit today. Theory of mind, though, very exciting. All right, moving on. We always have a question of the day for you. And our question today is, how are you paying it forward? We asked you the other day, what's the most generous thing that anybody has ever done for you? And one person wrote in particularly and said, listened, that they listened. It really reminded me the power of when we are still and let others have a voice. And remember that a voice isn't always something that is vocal, right? Our kids are speaking to us all the time with their behavior. And so are all the adults that are around us. And it's important to listen to all of that. That's us having perspective taking when we are most listening. And that's a great way to pay it forward. But there are many other ways to pay it forward. We always have a topic of the week. And of course, we've already talked about this a little bit, paying it forward. How do we do it? Why do we do it? Why is it a big deal? We've got some amazing guests for you today. We've already been talking this week about paying it forward. But for this wonderful day to end out this week, we are starting off with Dr. Adele Nadowski. She's here with us, and we're going to be talking about perspective taking and theory of mind, and perhaps even the Sally Ann test with her, so that we can help ourselves to be better at perspective taking and perhaps help an individual who's on the autism spectrum to be better at it as well. Then in the second hour, I'm really excited because I'm a fan. We are having John and Amanda Mussolino. They were featured recently on CBS's The Briefcase. If you have not seen this show, I'm telling you, this is one of my guilty pleasures. My husband and I love to watch The Briefcase together. There have only been 2 episodes that have aired so far. We'll tell you about the premise a little bit later on, but it's I think it's good reality television. I think it's worth watching. It's certainly very uplifting. And John and Amanda Mussolino were one of the families that were featured on last week's The Briefcase. They are a wonderful family with 3 kids, one who is on the autism spectrum. They were given a briefcase full of money, $101,000, and told that they could do whatever they wanted with it. And what they did with it is pretty life-changing. Not what you think. Let's just say that they are incredibly generous people. So we're going to want to talk with them. I want to get the blow-by-blow. Both my husband and I were so excited that they're going to be on the show today, thrilled that they're going to be here. And I also want to tell you about their business so that you can support them. Whippersnapper, Team Whippersnapper. If you're going on an excursion and want to do some fishing and you're down in Florida, you're going to want to know about what John and Amanda do. Then to round out the show today, we have Sue Cho with us. Sue Cho, world-renowned. She travels all over the world and works with kids who are on the autism spectrum. And I recently had a conversation with her. She's an inspiring young woman who has big plans for what she's planning on doing in life, and has started an initiative called My Own Voice, and we want to talk with her about, she's doing a drive to get more technology into more kids and adults' hands with autism. So we want to tell you how you might be able to help to make that happen. So paying it forward. It's the theme throughout all the things that we're doing today. So we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to be back with Dr. Adele Nadowski for Real Progress with Dr. Adele. Stick with us.
When you find out you're having a boy, you always think like, oh, he's going to play football, he's going to do this and that. And then when he's diagnosed, all those things get washed away. It's
like that piece that's always in the back of your mind, you know, where is he? What is he doing? Is he safe?
We really didn't know what we were dealing with. I wish that they could have directed me a little bit more and provided me some information.
I was a young mom. I didn't know what it was like to raise a boy, despite a boy with autism.
Hundreds of thousands of families are not getting the help they need for their children with autism all around the country. ACT Today is determined to bridge the gap. These families really have to go through a lot to get a grant. The application process isn't easy. The records, the diagnosis proof, they're really battling for their kids. So when we can give them a grant, it is so wonderful to see that they succeed in getting that help for their children. Our founder, Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet, is an amazing woman, and she is one of the world's foremost authority on behavior of children with autism. She's extremely knowledgeable, and she oversees every single grant we give. She is part of that process. People may think of autism care and treatment as simply schooling or therapy, but you know, we provide important safety supports, things like fencing, for example. The whole family's living in fear of that child running out into traffic. I recently delivered an iPad to a little boy with some of the apps that are out there for children with autism. Miracles happen.
I got the iPad from ACT.
From ACT,
What
yes.
did it say? Can you repeat that, Dustin?
I got the iPad from ACT.
We have helped so many military families, and when I think of these brave families that are fighting two battles, one to protect our country and one for the right treatment and care for their children, it breaks my heart, and I think we have to do more as a nation to help them.
There's not a day that doesn't go by that we don't think about it. Some people say, oh, he's normal. You don't see the battles that I see every single day. My husband does have to deploy, and when they get on that bus, that might be the last time that my kids ever see them.
So I called, and they informed me that he had received a grant, which was like a blessing from above. I was just like speechless. I just started to cry because, you know, without it, we would have been lost.
The ACT grant was a total miracle. Without that, we wouldn't be able to receive the service dog. So we're so appreciative what they've done for us as a family.
Recently, ACT Today funded a program for military children with autism in San Diego, the Inclusion Films program, which is run by Joey Travolta, and teaches kids on the autism spectrum literal filmmaking skills. They learn how to make a movie.
Are we ready? There you go, got it. Mark it. Okay. Everything that goes into the process of making a film goes into everyday life. So they're learning life skills, they're learning to collaborate.
It was really nice to know how much they were enjoying this camp, and they're with people who are supporting them and are making them feel great about themselves and their differences and their similarities. And I get two kids that are working together and apart and together and apart, so it's an interrelationship as well as a camp and a learning experience.
It's so fulfilling when I get letters. One stands out for me, a boy who was 14 with Asperger's, and we gave him a grant to go to a drama camp. He wrote to us and said, "Dear ACT Today, thank you for letting me belong for the first time in my life." These kids are remarkable. You know, we underestimate them. They're so knowledgeable, they're so capable, and we can change the life of a family, which means changing the life of a community.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We're here right now with Dr. Adele Nadowski for a segment that we call Real Progress with Dr. Adele. You know that I'm a huge fan of Dr. Nadowski. Over the years, she has helped me to be a better parent. So we welcome you. Thrilled to have you with us today.
Thank you. Super excited.
Yes, and today we've been talking about paying it forward all this week. That's our topic for the week, and our
nice topic,
isn't it?
Yes.
Because I was saying, and I always say this, that whenever you're feeling down in the dumps, that if you do something for somebody else, no matter how bad you're feeling, it always gets better. because I think for a lot of us, that's really reinforcing, the word that you guys like to use, reinforcing. But sometimes for our kids on the autism spectrum, we run into problems with perspective taking, and a lot of people, I've heard a lot of people saying lately, well, you know, with autism, people with autism don't have empathy. I don't know how true that is, and I want to talk about that with you. But maybe if we started first by talking about what is perspective taking, and is it teachable?
Okay. I'll say first of all, absolutely, perspective taking is teachable.
Okay.
We've published quite a few studies already showing that we can teach them to detect sarcasm and when people are lying to them, and to understand when someone's making an indirect request, like, those cookies look good, instead of just saying, can I have a cookie? All of those things require them to think about, what is this person meaning behind what they're actually saying? What might they actually be thinking?
Yeah.
What might they actually be feeling, and things like that. So no problem teaching it, and we kind of know what we need to do to teach it too. We've got that methodology figured out. And what it is it's just the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes and think about their thoughts and feelings. And to separate that from your own. So that's kind of where they're missing, is that if they experience something, a lot of times it's assumed that someone else already has that same amount of experience. So when having a conversation, for example, they may not give any background details. They might just go straight into a story, and you're like, where did that just come from, you know? Or talk over someone's head with jargon or things like that. So, and then when they have conflicts, they don't understand why the other person's upset at all.
Yeah.
And also can misinterpret other people's intentions for that same reason. So someone bumps into them and they're really upset and saying, like, you bully or something, but it could have been an accident.
Yeah. And I think it's important to note that we all have areas of deficit and perspective taking, but in different areas. I don't know a single person who is completely brilliant at it 100% of the time. And yet it seems like really successful people seem to be particularly good at it in more situations than maybe the average person. Because it does seem like, for me personally, if I'm struggling with something or someone, if I am able to look at it from their point of view, it is not as big of a struggle.
No, it really isn't. It's hard for me to even be mad at anybody anymore about anything, because when something happens, I just think about it from their side and I go, yeah, I understand now why they did that, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm not happy that it happened, but
right.
It's hard for me to be angry with them. You know?
Yeah, truly, it does change the way you view the whole world. So I don't want to just pick on individuals on the autism spectrum and say, oh, well, hand in hand with autism, that the perspective taking isn't necessarily as sharp as it needs to be, because we all could get better at it.
Yeah. Except that I would say, like, for instance, even with your spouse and stuff like that, you get in fights probably now and then, and the things that you're arguing about, you may never see the other person's perspective. And you try to convince each other, like, of your perspective, and you just have to agree to disagree, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But I'm talking also about, like, things like where someone on the spectrum might literally walk into a room and pick their nose or readjust their, genitals.
Their business. They got the business being rearranged, yes.
Because they're don't even get embarrassed. Like, to be able to get embarrassed,
Yes.
you have to have perspective taking to understand that someone else is going like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. I can't believe that kid just did that or something.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, so they aren't even thinking about what other people are thinking.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more extreme, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, I love the Big Bang Theory. Which doesn't actually, no one actually says that anybody is on the spectrum there, but there, obviously there's a bunch of people who are in different places on the spectrum in that show. And one of the punchlines that runs throughout the show is that somebody in particular doesn't take other people's perspective and thinks that the entire world revolves around him. He's pretty sure that it does. And it's set in a context that we can all laugh and enjoy it, because everybody has had someone in their life that at some point was completely oblivious to the fact that there were other people who needed things in the room. But yes, it can be very extreme and it can be very frustrating.
Yeah.
I think with people who aren't on the spectrum, if it's pointed out to them like, dude, you're really making it all about you right now, they have a certain amount of, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I guess I was making it all about me. Whereas it's a little bit harder with people on the spectrum to get them to see you're not thinking about other people right now. but you said you have the methodology. They have the technology. They can do this.
Yes, we figured out what to do. It involves teaching rules, specific social rules, and then also the reasons why you do them. So I, for example, could say to someone, if someone gives you a gift that you already have or you really don't like it, just say thanks and smile. And if they ask you if you like it, say yeah, something like that. But I'm only giving a rule in that case. So I'm not really teaching them perspective taking. I'm not teaching them the part where the reason we do this is because when you say, ooh, it's ugly, or I already have this, you might hurt their feelings a little bit. And they put a lot of thought and time into that. And if you got someone a gift, it would hurt your feelings. So we're just going to say thank you and smile. So we add that part into the rule for the perspective taking to give that.
And are you using this example because specifically 4 years ago, almost to the date, when my son was 8, that was the day that he got this for the first time. He was having a birthday party, and I was going through the rules with him and saying to him, now what are you going to do if somebody gives you the same thing that the person before gave you? And he was like, Mom, I know. I'm going to say thank you. And I said to him, and why is that? And he said, because clearly they cared enough to go pick out the gift, and it was important to them. And I don't want them to feel bad after they spent that much time trying to make me feel special. I almost had to pull the car over. I was so excited. I was like, he got it.
I had to do this with both of my typically developing kids, and I think most parents do go through this. It's not just something that has to do with autism, but so basically I brought that up actually not because of your son, but I do remember that story, but because my colleagues and I are writing up a study on this that we just did, and we're going to be submitting it for publication.
Okay.
So we did research on this particular area, but so you give them a rule, and then we use what's called behavioral skills training, which basically all that involves is rules, modeling, role play, and feedback, and then they practice it. So we would give the rule, and then like with the gift example, and then we would model something. Okay, so like, pretend you give me this and I don't like it or whatever. Here's how it needs to look. And it's not just about what comes out of your mouth, but it's also like the facial expression and the tone of your voice. That matters too. And so then we have them practice. Okay, we're going to practice. I'm going to pretend to give you a gift. I want you to do this, right? And then basically from there we give them feedback. Oh, you didn't sound convincing. I could tell you weren't sincere. Whatever. You need to say it more like this.
Keeping in mind that whatever feedback you give them, eventually they will give you as well. I've learned this the hard way. So keep that in mind when you're giving them feedback, because now Jem will say to me, I don't think I really believed the way you said that. I go, what have I taught him?
Right.
But yes.
But that doesn't mean after the role play and the child can do it and everything that means it's mastered and done, right? That just means that they passed a role play. But in a real life situation, we don't really know yet. So what we do is we just go about our business doing other things with the child, because usually we're doing other therapy with different targets or whatever, and every now and then we have a confederate stop by.
So by confederate, you mean somebody who's in on it that the child doesn't know is in on it. So they're gonna fulfill a specific role to set the child up to see if they can do it. I like that.
And it's not necessarily, obviously you can't always do it around birthdays or holidays, so it's more like, hey, I went on a trip this weekend and I saw this and thought of you, I wanted to get this for you, like that. And then they give it to him and he's got to act the way he's supposed to act.
Okay. But I really kind of love it. We talk a lot on the show about that more and more people are talking about the benefits of putting our kids in acting classes. But
actually that sounds like a great idea.
It is a great idea.
Yeah.
And I used to teach theater. This is what I taught. I taught college theater, and really acting is all about being able to figure out why somebody else is doing something. You look at all of their actions in the play and figure out why are they doing this, and you talk about it. That's what rehearsals are. Some people call it the person's intention or their objective. You try to, if you're playing a role, what's their objective? What do they want? It's perspective taking. And what a great fun way to work on perspective taking with kids on the autism spectrum. And even if you, in the beginning, you're teaching them to play a role and they don't really feel it on the inside, we know that actors sometimes are doing a scene and then they end up crying real tears, right? Because it connects at some point.
Yeah.
So kind of cool. All right.
I kind of feel like I shouldn't have used the gift example because honestly it's been controversial.
Really?
We've presented this at multiple conferences, and a few times some of the people in the audience have gotten very angry and said, I think it's ridiculous that you would teach kids to be deceptive. Why can't everyone else just change their ways and be truthful? But, you know, we can argue about that for days. So, but that's just one example. Many others are like, you know, with sarcasm. The rule would be something like, someone's sarcastic when they say the opposite of what's actually, what they actually mean. Okay, so if it's, you know, they're outside and they're like sweating bullets, they'll be like, wow, I'm so glad it's such a nice breezy day today.
Right.
You know.
Exactly. Exactly.
Boy, we sure lucked out with the weather, didn't we? You know, and you can
Right.
tell they're being sarcastic because it's the actual opposite of what's occurring.
Yes.
They might be rolling their eyes. They say it in that particular tone, you know,
Right.
and we teach them to recognize all those. And then again, we do the model, the role play. And the important part is that you don't just teach them to respond to certain sarcastic statements because, yeah, they can master and memorize those, but that's not learning the repertoire of understanding sarcasm. So every single time you present different sarcastic statements. They never are presented with the same ones.
Yeah.
And then once they're able to respond to new ones, then you've got it. But then again, you've got to insert it into like everyday life and see if it actually is happening there before you determine that this is something they can do.
It's fascinating stuff, perspective taking. I think we should take a break, and then I want to come back and talk a little bit about empathy.
Okay.
And how we get our kids to care about other people's feelings. I don't know that I agree that our kids don't have empathy already, but I don't know if they know how to act on it. But we're going to get Dr. Nadowski's opinion on that. So stick with us. We'll be right back after these messages. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, and we're at the ABCs and XYZs of Special Needs Conference. And this year, for the first time, they've got something really remarkable. It's the Entrepreneurial Boutique. These are all items that have been made and are being sold by individuals who have special needs. So we're going to do a little shopping and talk to some of these fabulous entrepreneurs. Come on.
My name is Molly Rarick, and I'm founder of Breed's Gift. We're a nonprofit that serves teens and adults with special needs, like Chase here. We were founded in 2013 and serve people in the Conejo Valley, Santa Barbara, and LA.
Our main objective is to give our participants the skills they need to gain a more independent life.
My name is Shelley Cox, and Lisa Zalagi and I are founders of Creative Steps and Create Micro-Business Enterprises. And the items that we're selling here today are all made by the clients who have passions about what they want to make, and then they get the profits from what they make after we've paid all of the other expenses.
We are here today because my goal is to be independent, and also I would like to share all my artwork, and I would like to sell.
Thinking about at his young age being a businessman, you know, it's amazing. I cannot be more proud.
Welcome back to Autism Live and to Real Progress with Dr. Adele. Dr. Adele Nadowski is here with us, and we're talking with her about perspective taking and empathy. I love on the weekends, if Jem and I are going any place in the car, we listen to NPR, and there are certain shows on NPR that we love to catch up on. But they have the TED Talk show where they feature different TED Talks. And I was listening, I didn't get to hear the whole thing, but there was a scientist who was talking about empathy and how important empathy is, and he made a carte blanche statement and said, well, people with autism don't have empathy. And it really cheesed me off, and Jem was like, hey, you know, that's not very nice to say that none of us have empathy, right? And it was kind of an ironic moment for me because I didn't think that the scientist was being very empathic in making that statement, right? But it made me think about it, and I feel like I've heard that several different places. I don't agree with it. I don't agree that people with autism don't have empathy. I think just like everybody else, they have different degrees of it. I know people who aren't on the spectrum that aren't very empathic. But I'm sure that there is some deficit. Let's talk a little bit about empathy. My definition of empathy is perspective taking with feelings. I don't know how accurate that is. Do you think of empathy that same way?
I don't.
Okay, tell me how you...
Perspective taking with feelings could be the same thing as just saying you can identify someone else's emotions.
Okay,
to me.
So when
empathy
you think
is
of empathy, what do you
is
think
a
of?
further step to me. It's
Okay.
not just recognizing and knowing what others' emotions are or predicting them and things like that, but it's actually feeling what they're feeling when they're feeling it.
Okay.
So when someone is, crying or something on the news because they just lost their daughter or something like that, and you start crying, you actually feel sad.
Okay.
Whereas I would say like sympathy would be like you feel bad for them.
Okay.
But you don't feel sad.
All right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. But I think that we probably want a measure of both sympathy and empathy to be successful in life and to have good relationships in life. And I think all of us that have kids on the spectrum or friends on the spectrum, they want to be in good relationships. That's something that's important to most of them. Maslow's hierarchy of needs suggests that we all need other people at some point. So can we teach sympathy and can we teach empathy?
So there hasn't been any research yet, at least not applied behavior analytic research, trying to teach those things exactly. There's been stuff where they call it teaching empathic responding.
Okay.
But it's like someone hurts themselves and then the child says, "Oh, are you okay?"
Okay.
Right? I think we could do that again. It's one of those things where you teach a rule. Like if you see someone get hurt, run over and see if they're okay, if they need help. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that they're having sympathy or empathy at that point, I think.
But it's the appropriate response, and maybe that's the thing that we're all wanting. It's depicted so many times on television because I think it's a real thing that we've all had the moment with an individual who's on the autism spectrum where they have what we consider an inappropriate response to someone else's pain or anguish, that somebody hurts themselves and they're laughing,
right?
Or that they've done something that has caused pain to somebody and there's a non-reaction to it.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating. It's hard. It hurts our feelings because we want to know that they care about how we feel.
Right.
That's pretty selfish of us.
So there have been some studies showing that kids have been taught those kind of empathic statements.
Okay.
But whether or not they're feeling what that person's feeling or even feeling bad about it is a whole different situation. So actually, this is an area that Angela Persicki, I know she used to come on the show, is doing her dissertation on.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So, and it's pretty cool. The idea behind it is that she has this hypothesis that people are more empathic to people that they share similarities with. So you can actually relate better to that person, and then empathy is more likely.
It's interesting. I've had that conversation with her, but about bullying.
Oh, okay.
Talking about how you are less likely to bully someone if you feel that you have a shared interest with them, which I thought was very astute.
Yeah.
It's much harder to be mean to someone if you feel a connection with them.
Yeah.
But I guess the flip is true too. You're more likely to be sympathetic and empathetic if you feel that you have a connection.
So if you see a stranger who just lost a loved one or something, you might think like, oh, that's so sad or whatever. It must be horrible to go through that or something. But then if you then find out that they went to the same high school as you and their daughter who died or something is the exact same age as yours and maybe they share a name, like things like that, all of a sudden I think the likelihood of the empathy is possibly
it's much
increased.
closer to home.
At least that's what the hypothesis is, and that's what she'll be testing.
Wonderful.
And then if you think about it, with us being in war and things like that, a lot of what I think helps people to be able to kill others is thinking about how they're totally different.
Yes.
So it's the opposite.
The opposite. Interesting. And we talk about these things and it has such an effect on an individual and such an effect on a family. But quite honestly, when you look at it that way, it has it has a global impact. That if we are to look at people and see the similarities instead of the differences, maybe we would be more peaceful as a people, which would be lovely.
Yeah.
Fascinating. So we'll have to, at some point, get Angela to come back on the show and talk about as she starts her testing.
Okay.
All right, wonderful. We should take a short break, and then we have a question that's come in that has to do with perspective taking. So stick with us. We'll be right back.
What is autism? What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
I've been asking myself that for a very, very long time.
Let me think about that one.
Trying to,
Jeez. Let me think. Oh man, that's a rough one. Yes.
Autism is a neurological disorder that affects many of our kids in different ways.
It's a learning disability that affects the cognitive functions of the brain.
A lot of people have the misconception that it's a disability, and it's really not.
I look at it as like a special gift.
When one person thinks differently from another.
It's an opportunity for everyone to learn to understand someone that's a little different than them. Autism is the ability to educate.
They're given so much talent in different areas.
To me, autism means a chance to be with and be around people you really care about. Autism is beautiful.
It's a way of seeing the world differently.
It's always unique, totally intelligent, and sometimes mysterious.
Happiness that comes out of my son's hard work.
It's a movement.
Unpredictable.
That's right.
Awesome. Love. The field I want to work in.
Laughter, fun, joy. Autism is beautiful to me.
I want you to remember these 3 words. There is hope.
Welcome back to Autism Live and to Real Progress with Dr. Adele. Dr. Adele Nadowski is here with us, and she has been talking to us about perspective taking. We have a question from a viewer who wrote in and said, "Dear Shannon, thanks for being here for us. Thank you for being here with me. I can't tell you how much you add to my experience of this journey. It's wonderful." They go on to say, "When watching videos, TV or YouTube, my 14-year-old asks when the video is made. Is the story real? Are the people on the screen still alive? Neurotypical sister just wants to watch the content. Is this perspective taking or something else? And thank you." And they go on to say, "Have a wonderful summer break." We will. We're going to be celebrating. And I was saying during the break, it's so interesting that you say this because Jem does the same thing. When he's watching something, if he comes in and we're watching something on TV, he will start asking those exact same questions. He'll ask, "What is this? Is it real?" Because there's so much reality television now, but you don't really know what's real, what isn't real. And if it is real, he wants to know, are these people still alive? Which I don't hear anybody else asking those questions. So I think it's interesting that both of our kids are doing that.
Yeah. Well, I think when you're trying to find out if something is true or false, that kind of thing, it's kind of related to perspective taking. So for example, there's true beliefs and false beliefs.
Yeah.
And we do that to deceive people. So for instance, if I want to trick you, I'm going to make you think something is true that isn't. So for example, let's say I had a piece of gum and I said, "Would you like a piece of gum?" And you went to take it and it gave you like a little zap.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you held a belief that this was gum when in reality it was just a little prank toy or whatever.
Yes.
So you actually had a false belief. When you create a false belief in somebody, then you're actually doing something which is definitely perspective taking, because you're thinking about what is that person thinking and how am I going to make them think this is real or whatever, right?
Yes.
So I would say like being able to identify if something is real or not or true or not or whatever is kind of like a prerequisite for some of the perspective taking skills. But I wouldn't know for sure if your son is engaging in perspective taking without asking him more questions. So just simply him saying, "Are these people real? When did this happen? Are they still alive?" I would want to know more information. So I would ask him something like, "Why do you ask?
Yeah.
What are you thinking about it?" Things like that, to try to basically probe him to give you more information. And if he says like, "Well, I'm just wondering, what they're thinking about this now, or how they feel about it," or something like that, then yes, it would be perspective taking. So you're trying to basically figure out, is your son spending time thinking about what other people are thinking and feeling? And if you can figure that out, then you'll know if they're engaging in perspective taking.
I have to wonder, though, if it's a little bit different for kids growing up right now than it was certainly when I was a kid. I remember how many years ago was the Blair Witch Project. And I remember being at my mom's visiting her, and there was a program that was on the TV that it was a spoof talking about the Blair Witch Project, and it was like a mini documentary about how these kids went missing. And I sat there, and it looked like a news program, and I just kept leaning forward going, these kids are missing? This really, I was just fascinated by the whole thing, and I wanted to go see the movie. And then somebody said to me, you know that's not real, right? And I went, what are you talking about? I saw this documentary. And I understand that there were people who went to the movie who left and thought it was real too, that there was a real, and after that movie, I think a lot of people started going, well, wait a second, is this real or is this not? And asking questions. And now there's, since then there's all this reality television and how much of it is real and how much of it isn't. We have 2 guests from a reality TV show that are going to be on in the next hour from the reality show, The Briefcase. But, cool. You kind of now, you have to ask yourself, is this real or is it not? And the line gets blurred a lot.
Yeah, like even reality television is a lot of stuff is set up.
Yeah.
It's not really reality.
Right. There's a moment, I always find myself when I'm watching reality TV, when there's this moment that's happening, I'm like, yeah, but the camera crew got there and power is on. It's not all that spontaneous.
Yeah.
That had to have taken some time to set up and get there. I can tell when it's real when you're actually seeing the chords. When they don't have time to make it all, when you see somebody running and you see the shadow and you go, okay, they didn't have time to set that shot up, so this is probably closer to reality. But I kind of think it's a good sign that our kids are even asking the question, is this real, instead of just assuming that it's real.
Right.
So a pretty powerful thing. But I love the questions that you've said to ask too, try to see if you can get into his perspective of why is that important to him.
Yeah, and I would say a lot of television has many, many opportunities to talk to your kids about perspective taking.
Yeah.
So if you even have just the ability to pause something in the middle of a plot. So let's say someone tricks another person, or they lie to somebody, or whatever. They set up a situation to make a person think a certain thing or whatever. You can maybe pause and ask questions like, why do you think that he did that? And to which the answer would be to make her think that, something happened that didn't happen or whatever. And if they're doing those things, then that's perspective taking.
When Jem was little, somebody had told us to watch American Idol with him, because he used to love to watch singers. He's not as much about it anymore. And to turn the volume, after they sing, turn the volume down and have him watch, because he was having trouble with facial expressions and understanding what people were thinking and feeling based on their facial expressions. So turn the sound down and ask him, how did you think the judges rated the person? Do you feel like they did a good job or they didn't do a good job? How do they feel about what the judges said?
That's awesome.
Just on facial expressions. And it was sort of like a game we played in our house and had a good time with. And it was fascinating for me to see the body language of, and sometimes we couldn't tell. Sometimes we'd have to rewind.
Because they would stay straight-faced.
Right, because the singer would be, just completely masked, right? So we'd rewind to see what happened, and sometimes we just rewind to see if we were right, that they liked it or they didn't like it. So that's a little bit of perspective taking too, right?
Totally, yes. Reading other people's facial expressions and reactions to things is definitely thinking about what do they feel about this? What do they think about this?
Yeah.
Anytime you're wondering what someone else is feeling or thinking, then you're doing perspective taking.
My grandmother used to take us places when I was little, and we would ride in the car, and this is before anybody had iPads or smartphones, and I don't even think her car had a radio in it. This is the dark ages we're talking. But so she would entertain us in the car. We'd be driving along, and we'd look at the car next to us, and she would say, okay, look at the car and look at the person in it, and then create a story around who they are and where are they going. And we would take turns and have to say, oh, well, that guy's name is Mr. Simpson, and he has 14 children, and he's going to buy them a swimming pool, and create a whole story. But it had to, and then she would say, well, why? Why do you think that? And you had to back it up with something you saw. Like maybe he had a bumper sticker that had a fish on it. And so you said, well, he's really into swimming because there's a fish. And she would say, I don't think so, and toss it out. But anyway, I just bring that up because, there are all different ways that you can work on perspective taking and make it fun. And it doesn't all require high tech.
Yeah.
We were doing it way back when.
Yeah.
Without an iPad. All right, let's take a break. And then if you are willing, when we come back, I'd like for you to explain the Sally Ann test.
Okay.
Because when I try to do it, I mess it up.
You botch it?
I botch it. Well, I forget who's Sally Ann and who's the other one. I botch it. Anyway, and I think it's worthwhile talking about. So stick with us. We're gonna delve into the Sally Ann test. We'll be right back. What do you think about ABA treatment?
ABA is the one that's documented, but I think that's what I think is important with little kids, the intensity. If this kid's 2, 3, and 4 years old, he needs 20 or 30 hours a week of intensive early intervention, working one-to-one with an effective teacher. And an effective teacher knows kind of how just hard to push, because you've got to stretch these kids. If you don't stretch them somewhere, they don't advance. You push on them too hard, they go into sensory shutdown. The worst thing you could do with an autistic 2-year-old is to do nothing with them and just let them sit there rocking. And when I was very young at 2.5, ABA type things were used on me, but it wasn't called ABA in that day. You know, my teacher would hold up a cup and she'd speak slowly. You got to speak slowly to these kids because there's auditory processing problems. She'd say cup, and then I'd say cup, and the teacher would praise me. You know, that's very similar to ABA. You know, ABA in its original form is a little kids program. The whole idea is you're trying to get language jump started. And I like the more flexible kinds of ABA. You got different levels of kids. I had ABA type stuff when I was young, but then after I pulled out of it, I didn't have to go through elaborate things of getting ready for school. I still have this habit now today. I lay my clothes out the night before that I'm going to wear, so when I'm sleepy I can just get them on. And then you have other individuals where they've got to do very structured, breaking down the task analysis. This is where after you get out of the little kids and you get them talking, they kind of diverge into different levels of functioning. And a type of ABA program that'd be suitable for a very severe kid would not be something you'd want to do with a mild Asperger kid, because you're going to bore them to death and make them hate school.
Absolutely. Welcome back to Autism Live and to Real Progress with Dr. Adele. Dr. Adele Nadowski is here with us. We're talking about perspective taking, and I asked her if she would be willing to go through the Sally Ann test with us, because I think it's amazing. When somebody explained the Sally Ann test to me, I completely got it, but I have great difficulty explaining it.
Yeah, so no problem.
Okay.
It's a cartoon that was in the original research by Simon Baron-Cohen and colleagues, published in 1985, which, by the way, if you do a Google Scholar of this particular study, you will see that it's been cited over 5,000 times. So extremely popular.
Yes.
And basically what they did is they had a cartoon situation with 2 girls named Sally and Ann, and they had them do something, and then they had 3 groups of children. They had kids with autism, kids with Down syndrome, and typically developing kids watch the cartoon, and then they asked them a question.
Okay.
And then
And
I'll
they
tell
took
you
the
what happened.
responses.
Okay, so Sally and Ann. So basically they're in a room together. There's a basket and a box. Sally goes and places a ball into the box. Then she leaves the room. While she's gone, her friend Ann moves the ball from the box to a basket. Then Sally comes back, and they ask all 3 groups of kids who participated in the research, where will Sally look for her ball? Where does she think it is?
Okay.
And the typically developing and kids with Down syndrome said that she would look in the box where she put it. She was absent. She didn't see it get moved. She wouldn't know that it's in the basket.
They could think it through at a certain age. They could think it through and realize that she didn't know, she wasn't present for when the ball was moved.
Right.
So they went off of her last sighting of where the ball was. They put themselves in
her
mind.
perspective, yeah.
Yes.
Whereas the kids with autism said she was going to look in the basket.
And I think what's particularly compelling about that test is that if you had asked me, I would have said, well, the neurotypical kids would be able to figure it out, but the kids with Down syndrome wouldn't be able to. And I think what is particularly interesting about it is that we begin to see that, that puzzle piece that we always talk about with autism, about what is it that's missing? What is it that's different? What is it that makes our kids different from everybody else? And when we as parents realize, okay, the neurotypical kids did it and the kids with Down syndrome who have other deficits could reason that out, but our kids overwhelmingly couldn't. That's when I see the puzzle piece.
And that's where Baron-Cohen decided, excuse me, that's where he made the suggestion that this is the key deficit in autism.
Yeah.
And he named it theory of mind.
Okay.
Which is an inability to understand that your own and others' mental states are different from one another.
And again, as we talked about when we first started, it's something that can be taught.
Absolutely, yeah.
100%.
There's already been a research showing that you can teach kids to do that particular task and everything, but many other studies as well on different topics of things that would be considered perspective taking.
Truly amazing.
And that's the cool part, because I think that initially when Theory of Mind was put out there was a suggestion that maybe this is something we couldn't teach.
Yeah.
You know? That it's actually they attributed it to a brain mechanism. When you do that, you're suggesting that there's something wrong in the brain.
Right.
And that kind of suggests that it's not teachable, right? Because you have this problem. But in reality, it's definitely teachable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, it's a worthwhile thing to teach, because there are so many different things in your life that will be affected negatively by not being able to logically think through. That person can't see that, doesn't know that, hasn't experienced
just to
that.
give you an example of all the different variables, and we teach each one of these separately and then combine them all, is sensory perspective taking. So what did Sally see?
Yeah.
Okay, so her perspective from what she could see. That would be the initial, easiest thing you would start with. Then from there, you go to knowing.
Yeah.
Okay, based on what someone can see, hear, taste, touch, smell, experience, we can figure out what they know. If they've never experienced it, they don't know.
Right.
So then we start talking about knowing. So then it's like, she didn't know the ball got moved, kind of thing. And then that gets into beliefs. When someone, sees something, getting back to this perspective taking or whatever, and they don't know, then they believe that it's still in the box.
Yeah.
And then we get into that, is that a true or a false belief? And if it's true, then that's reality. If it's not, then there's kind of where that gets into deception. So if we can create a false belief, then we have created deception. So all these things just kind of trickle down with each other.
And how it gets taught is quite fun. I think it's one of the most fun set of lessons that there are for a parent, especially, to be interacting with their child. But the impact that they have, I can remember when Jem was in 2nd grade and a kid tripped him at school. And he was personally affronted by it, and would have called for a public hanging, I think, if he could have, right? And he was so upset about it, and he got really stuck on it, and he was like, that person is not a good person, and that person tried to hurt me, and that person, he just, right? And in the discussions that we had with him, because of all of the lessons that we had done about knowing and beliefs and all of that, we were able to sit down and have a discussion and asked him to put himself in this other kid's shoes for a second, and did he do it deliberately or was it an accident? And he was like, well, I think that he did it deliberately. And I said, okay, that's what you think, but what do you know? Can you ever know for sure? And we were able to reason through with him that not on one incident that he couldn't. If it happened again, the evidence would mount that he was doing it deliberately. But since it only happened once, and reasonably...
And also, what was the kid's reaction after he bumped into him?
Right.
Did he say, did he say, oh, I'm so sorry, or oops, or something,
right.
Those kind of things.
Looking at all of those different things, we were able to get him to the point where he said, okay, there's at least a possibility that he didn't mean to do it. And it dialed him down. He was able to self-regulate as a result of that, stay friends with the kid, and go on to have a wonderful relationship with the kid.
Oh, good.
But if he hadn't had all that, if we hadn't had those tools to talk through, what do you think? What do you know? What are your beliefs on this? And when he disagrees with somebody, well, that's how you think about it. That's what you believe, but not everybody believes what you believe, and not everybody thinks what you think. And then he would go, oh, okay.
And then it could be like, let's pretend we're talking to him and asking him, what does he think happened? He thinks he was just trying to walk from here to there, and he accidentally bumped into you because he wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, it really helps with all those social things that come down the pike, so that they can have friends.
Yeah, and I mean, oh, man, these days with people using email as a form of communication, because
And
they don't get to
texting.
see facial and all that, and emoticons can help with that stuff, I think, but you can get really misunderstood in an email, and people think you're being abrasive or whatever with them.
Oh, yeah.
So that's an issue as well, as once you get into written expression.
It's a tough world.
So
that
I
we live
think
in.
that it's important, even for us, like when I write an email, to think about what will the person think about this? How are they going to interpret my email?
Yes.
And then I try to think of the possibilities, and then that'll make me change it or something, to make sure that they think what it is, the message that I'm trying to give.
I usually count my husband as my, I go, read this and tell me what you get from this. And sometimes he'll go, well, it seems really sharp. And I'll go, good, that's how I want it. Right? But other times I'll go, oh, no, that's not what I was going for at all. You know what I mean? But I ask him to look at it to see what he thinks. But I should be thinking myself, well, how are they going to take this?
Yeah, like what are the possible ways they'll interpret this? Either they're going to think this or they're going to think this. You know, what can I do to make them think this particular thing that I want? Okay, here's what I need to do. I add another line or something. You know?
We get back to the acting, the objective. What's the objective? and being able to communicate effectively so that you get your objective. Powerful, powerful stuff. Well, we're unfortunately out of time, but this has been so exciting, and thank you for explaining the Sally Ann test for us so that we can understand, because we would have had George and Jeff in 3 boxes. And I don't know where she put the ball. But I know that this is key. This is very key.
That would have been funny.
I was up making gluten-free cupcakes at 1 o'clock this morning, so it's the last 2 days of school. Anyway, I wouldn't know where the basketball is. Anyway, thank you for being with us. We have you again next week, we believe.
Yes.
So we're thrilled that we will be back with Dr. Nadowski next Thursday. We're going to take a break right now and go to the A Word. This is the ongoing documentary being made by the Center for Autism and Related Disorders following a little boy, Jack Riley, diagnosed with autism at the age of 2. We get to see what it's like when you're having therapists work with a child. And I don't think there's any perspective taking in this particular episode, but lots of other things to be watching about how they teach and get to progress. Then when we come back, don't forget that we have 3 total guests in this next hour. Sue Cho's going to be joining us, talking about a new initiative to put more technology in individuals' hands and how you might be able to help. And we're going to have John and Amanda Mussolino from The Briefcase. CBS's The Briefcase. This was a wonderful family. They have 3 children, 1 on the autism spectrum. They were given a briefcase with $100,000. You just won't believe what they did with it. We're going to have that in the next hour, but first, the A Word.
Hey Jack, wanna go on the swing? He's a happy, fun kid, and he was a happy, fun kid when he was diagnosed too, and I don't think at the time we really understood that you can be happy, fun, and still have autism. He's sort of giving us a hint that we don't need to worry so much, that he'll conquer whatever it is that he's dealing with.
Oh, that could be interesting. Oh no, the duck fell. You're okay.
It's okay, buddy. Daddy will hold it. Let's try again.
I know that it's very important to him, whether he knows it or not, that he has both of us in his corner. So for the dads, that's all I would say, is be in his corner, do the best you can, and if you screw up, just be involved. You're going to make mistakes, but just be involved. It's not going to go away, and quite frankly, you're way more valuable to helping him than you think you are in the beginning. There were times I thought I'm useless, and that's gone away.
He does when he sees doors and books. Knock, knock, knock. Ding dong, ding dong. Hello. Hello, don't you? Hello. Who is it?
Hello.
Good night, friends. I'm sleepy too.
Wake up.
Wake up, but I'm sleepy.
He's just really clever now. More creative when he's playing. He solves little issues or problems that get in his way, and he just smiles a lot while he's doing it, so we think he's enjoying it.
Yeah, look, those are purple to top.
Oh my
God!
Oh my goodness, that was so impressive.
Good job.
We added a new program, Gaining Attention, because we've been noticing that he wants our attention, but he'll like throw things or doesn't know appropriately how to get your attention. So we're going to be teaching him to tap our shoulder as well as call our name. when he wants our attention.
Tries.
This is Jessica's first attempt in teaching Jack Riley how to gain attention. At first, Jessica tempts Jack Riley with an item he wants, then prompts him the entire way so he can practice and learn an appropriate way to gain attention.
Look, do you want the fire truck? Look, look what I have.
Do you want it?
Yes.
Okay, do this, look. Say Jessica! Good job, try again, ready? Ready? Say Jessica! Say Jessica! Oh, what do you want? Oh, okay, here you go. There you go. Okay, do this. As Jack Riley learns how to gain attention, Jessica's prompts will fade until he does it independently. You want to try again? Okay. Yes? Yes? What do you want? Yeah, what do you want? Oh, there you go. That was very good, Jack. Yes? Yes? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. That's good, mister. You're getting better at that. Then we also added a program called Inhibition, when mom or dad are doing things like getting the mail or getting things from the car. He's had episodes where he'll just run.
Wait.
Uh-uh.
Wait.
Stop.
Wait.
Wait. No, wait. Stop.
If this is as bad as it gets and we've caught it, then we're great. I think what I didn't realize is that there's always going to be new things that he's going to encounter. There's always going to be new behaviors that he discovers, and that's part of being a kid as well as the autism.
No.
Stop. Come back. Thank you.
This way. Go.
We can go in this.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I wanted to take just a second that somebody had written in a comment yesterday that I wanted to address, that they said, "Dear Shannon, happy birthday to Jem. He sounds like a wonderful young man. He's sure trying." They said, "Big thank you to all your advice and getting the experts to help. Wanted to express our gratitude and update. My 14-year-old has sound sensitivity and anxiety from surprise sounds. He was wearing a headset to cook for fear of splatter sound, and he was always tense with sudden electronic sounds turning on. He no longer needs the headset to cook." Isn't that exciting? They go on to say, "We're working towards generalization on the surprise sounds. This is thanks to your show, your pep talk, the Pocket OT, and ABA. We are making progress thanks to you." I think you're making progress because you put it all together, right? We just like to be the switchboard. They said, "P.S. Still struggle after any assessments and meetings when my child's challenges are discussed and having to ask for accommodations. What helped me through is what you said about equality versus justice and the comparison of teaching a toddler to walk and teaching our kids skills." Well, thank you so much. I've had several conversations in the last week with people going to IEPs and talking about when you get the assessment back and how the experts sometimes make us feel. I had the opportunity to talk to a dad the other day who expressed to me that his school had said that they don't have enough staff for his child who is not speaking to have a speech and language pathologist, that they just don't have enough staff, that they have 3 SLPs for 70 kids, and so they just don't have enough, so that they're not going to fund it. And it makes me mad in a way that is so hard to even wrap my head around. My grandmother used to say, spitting mad. I just want to spit and yell and throw a tantrum about it, because I, as a former teacher and as somebody who used to be at IEP meetings, look, there's good behavior and there's bad behavior, and the people who are in those meetings know the difference. And I know that I love teachers and I love people who are about educating. But a lot of times people who go into the administrative side of teaching, while many of them have kids' best interests at heart, I find that there are some that just don't. And they are very well of the fact of what the laws are and what they are allowed to say and what they are not allowed to say. And I think that they feel like they're in a high stakes negotiation that's going to determine whether or not they get to keep their job, and that's where they're coming from. Talk about perspective taking. And that there is a lack of perspective taking on the other side, remembering that we are there for our kids, living, breathing human beings who have a right to that, not equality, but to that justice that we talk about, that keeping it fair, that it needs to be fair. And I get it, and I think we all get it, that it can't always be fair in all things. But the truth of the matter is that our society here in the United States, we have something called public education, which means that those people's salaries who are sitting across the table from you, you paid for their salaries. And that's really some perspective taking that they need to take, that their job is contingent upon you paying your taxes and you being a protective and productive member of society. And they may not realize it, but their job depends on our kids becoming productive members of society. A lot of times they don't remember that. They're very short-sighted about that, but I find it inexcusable when people deliberately try to make us feel bad in an IEP meeting, and when they're giving us assessment information and trying to make us feel bad, and when they make it any harder for us to have to beg for accommodations for our kids. I don't excuse it. I don't know how those people sleep, but I will tell you, and I tell this to myself all the time, sometimes I get uncomfortable. I really do. And I think, gosh, why do I have to be that mom? Why do I have to, can I ever just be there and be grateful and be sweet? I just had an experience recently where I was fatutzed about something and I was about it. And another mom was like, well, I'm just grateful. And I thought, oh, I'd like to be more like you. But the truth of the matter is that I think the world needs the yin and the yang of both of us moms. I need that mom to remind me to be grateful, but to be honest, that mom needs me to go in and advocate and go, you're not leaving people out of this, right? So I think the world needs us both, and maybe I need a little bit more of her gratitude. And I will say that I'm standing on the shoulders of a lot of moms and dads who came before me who fought for things so that my kid can make the most progress. And for me, that's a sacred trust that I want to uphold that, because I want for the people who are coming behind us that we're reaching down and saying, here, have a leg up. I want to make sure that I left it better for them than I found it when the pioneers left it for me. So you're doing a good job. When you advocate, when you tell them, not on my watch, you're doing a really good job. You are not only showing your child how important they are to you, you're showing those administrators, you're here, you're not going away, and there are going to be kids coming behind you, and you make a difference for those kids. Anytime I go into an IEP, I have at least a moment where I say, thank you for everybody who has come before me and worked through some of the tougher parts of this so that I don't have to explain to them that my child has different needs than their kids. And sometimes I still have to explain that to them. But a lot of times I don't. And that's because a parent did it before me. So get your Norma Ray on, right? You're going to be uncomfortable, but that's okay. Get your Norma Ray on and know that you're doing a great job. And you will be able to say, hey, I advocated for my child. And that is a powerful thing, my friends. All right, we are out of time. We need to take a break because when we come back, we're going to be joined by Amanda and John Mussolino from CBS's The Briefcase, an amazing family with a child on the autism spectrum faced with a really powerful decision. What do you do if somebody gives you $100,000 and says you can keep it all, but there's a family in need who could use this in addition to you? What do you do? Well, I guarantee you're going to want to hear what John and Amanda did. So stick with us. We're going to be right back with the Mussolinos after this message.
What would you do if your child was hurting?
If your family's future was uncertain.
If help seemed out of reach.
Have you been given no hope?
Taka means I am not alone in this.
This is the reality for families affected by autism. And today, the number of children with autism is growing more rapidly than ever. Taka unites these families and shows that they do not have to fight this battle alone.
Our oldest son, Jared, who has autism, when we first took him to the doctor to get the diagnosis, you know, it's so sad because they offer you nothing. There's no help, there's no hope.
One of the things that you learn with autism is being very grateful for even the small milestones. You know, when you first get the diagnosis, you go through all the range of emotions. You know, this can't be happening. Why is this happening? You have to get to a point where it's the emotion that has to be leading is, what can I do? The first thing that struck me was walking to a room and seeing, oh my gosh, we're not alone. And there is this very strong community that's already set. And something I still today associate with Taka the most is hope. To me, that's what Taka means. Taka means hope.
It's like you've got all these dreams and goals of what your son's gonna do, and you get your diagnosis and you're sent home. And that's it. There's no plan of action. There's no, here's autism, here's what we're gonna do to make your life better and help him. It's strictly go home and try to process it and go on the internet. It was devastating, and you just, you know, you go through this 3-week of depression and then you snap out of it. You have to. And then you start making phone calls and trying to figure out what is autism and what are we gonna do? And then we found Taka, and it was life-changing.
Autism, there really is no definitive answer. It is trying to find the resources that are out there that can assist you to help your child so that, you know, you just don't feel so helpless at those particular moments.
There was direction and there was hope and there was a little ray of sunshine that he's gonna be okay and we're gonna be okay. I always look back and think we would never be where we are. Carson wouldn't be where he is at without Taka.
So 13 years ago, my son was diagnosed with autism, and that put our whole family into a tailspin. There were so many different ideas and things that were not proven. Nobody knew what guidance to give us. We had no direction. And then we found Taka. They helped give us a path to follow, help give our son a better future and make him healthy and put him back onto the road of recovery. When your son's first diagnosed, the first thing you hope for is, gosh, I just want my son to speak. I just want to be able to communicate with him in some way. Then you want a little more. You want him to go to a regular school. Then you want him to potentially have a real life and go to college. So you're always hoping for the future of your child. My son is a happy, healthy, vibrant young boy that's going to turn 15 really soon. And we couldn't be more pleased, and without Taka, I don't think we'd be in the place that we are today. We believe the future is not defined for many affected by autism. There is hope and direction for these kids and their families. Taka is dedicated to providing community, support, education, and hope to families affected by autism.
At Taka?
At Taka.
At Taka,
we are families with autism helping.
Helping.
Helping families. Helping families with autism.
Hi, my name is Matt. I am 19 years old, and I was diagnosed with autism when I was 6 years old. Autism is one of the fastest growing developmental disabilities in the United States, but I am living proof that with the right treatment, hope is possible. My future is not limited. Today, I am attending Fullerton Community College, and I run for the cross-country team for fun with my friends. It makes me feel proud when I think about my progress. Chances are you know someone affected by autism. Show them they are not alone and help others get on the road to recovery. Contribute to talk about curing autism today.
Just go like this. Can you see me? Puedes mirarme aquí? Okay. Hi, I'm Rebecca Ishida. Say hi, Ethan. Hi. My son was diagnosed with autism in November 2004. With Ethan, almost immediately, we noticed things that were troublesome, that he just didn't sleep. He would vomit in the crib. There were a lot of sensory issues.
Then he'd have like 20 of the trains lined up, and if you came in and took one train out, just meltdown completely. Guttural instinct is to think that there's nothing wrong. Who wants to look at their child and go, there's something wrong with that child? You don't. You always want to see the best in your child.
Will my kid be able to go to school? Will he interact with his peers? Will he be able to have a healthy relationship? Will he get married? I really thought that autism was like a death sentence. A lot of hope was given to me through CARD. This was my third agency and the best agency we had. And there was no way in the world I was going to give up CARD because of the gains I saw Ethan was having.
Ah, you did it!
And I remember when Doreen saw us for the evaluation, she says, but by the time he's 6, he will be recovered. And that's exactly what happened.
I'll fix that.
He will be recovered. And that's exactly what happened.
I'll fix that.
Torin. There's the two buddies.
I have a 7-year-old son who was diagnosed when he was 22 months old with PDD-NOS. That diagnosis was changed when he was 3 to a full autism diagnosis. There was a long period of time where he didn't sleep at all and all night long would bang his head and whoop. It was because he was in pain but couldn't tell us.
We're gonna back up, showing the speed and grace of this guy.
CARD was one of the only programs that said it doesn't really have to be this way forever. Your child will make progress. We can show you. Just give us time. We started services with CARD when my son was 3.5. Shortly thereafter, my daughter was also diagnosed and started her immediately with services. And I'm pleased to say that I think she's doing exceptionally well and will probably lose her diagnosis in the next 2 years. We started with 3 therapists with my son, and he had actually a 46-hour program. And thankfully, through some of the behavioral training that CARD helped us with, he is back in school.
1 + 9 = woohoo!
He's sleeping at night. CARD has a very robust program. Things that we're working on right now that we could never work on before is learning to play the piano, learning to ride his bike. It just has given us back our quality of life. They focus on our family. What do we need to do to make it more functional? So we're very, very happy with the services, and we feel like we owe everything to CARD because they kind of gave us back our life. I have nothing but love for CARD, for sure.
There's been another new study about optimal outcomes, and I wanted to know, what are your thoughts on recovery? Do you think it's possible? Do you believe in recovery from autism?
On recovery, you learn how to adapt. I mean, I've had a lot of experimental brain scans done, and I have found things that are definitely abnormal. I have an enlarged left ventricle that's definitely abnormal. That's not going to go away. That scan was done less than 5 years ago. But you work with someone and they adapt. You're not going to make me an algebra specialist. That's just not going to happen. But things like getting better at public speaking, that is something that I gradually learned. What I'm seeing today, especially with some of the kids on the mild end of the spectrum, I'm seeing teenagers that are much milder than me that haven't learned things like how to go up to the counter at McDonald's and order food all by themselves, how to go on the bus, how to shop, how to go in the store and shop, how to do a checkbook, basic things like that. Because what drives me crazy is when I go back to the cattle world and I see a guy in the maintenance shop that's running the whole maintenance shop at a big plant, and he's as Asperger's as he can be, and he's running a whole maintenance shop. And then I see Junior that's addicted to video games, and you can't get his duff off his chair and get him doing things. Now, when I was in high school, I did a lot of thinking about this. I got kicked out of a large girls' school for throwing a book, and I went to a special boarding school up on a farm, and I was allowed to work with the farm animals. And they let me goof off and not study. But I got to thinking, there's one thing they did not let me do. I goofed off and I didn't study, but I had to physically go to class. When I didn't want to go to the Friday night movie, they made me the projectionist. One thing they were not going to let me do is sit in my room, become a recluse in my room. They were not going to allow that.
I want to know why you threw the book. Why did you throw it?
Oh, I threw a book at a girl because she called me a retard.
Oh, good reason.
Oh, no,
to throw
she
it at.
teased me. And I had some problems getting in fights when kids teased me. But it was always brought about by someone picking on me. And the principal had me kicked out of school, out of a large girls' school for doing that.
And what'd your mom say?
Well, she was not very happy about the whole thing because when the principal called, I answered the phone and he said I was incorrigible and I was kicked out of school. Mother was really angry that he just said that right directly to me, which was definitely not very appropriate.
Currently, in the United States, 1 in 88 children is affected by autism. 1 in 88 means something different when your child is the one. Recovery is possible. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, host of Autism Live, an online show about autism broadcast by CARD, the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I'm also the mother of a child with autism. My beautiful son, Jem. You know our old joke, guess what?
Chicken butt.
Chicken butt. So we're gonna take the chickens. But things weren't always so easy. I remember when Jem was first diagnosed with autism. I used to lay awake at night in bed and pray for someone or something that could help us to get our child back. My prayers were answered by Dr. Doreen Granpichet and the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. CARD treats autism and other related disorders using the principles of ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, which is the only scientifically proven effective treatment for autism. It is also recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics and the U.S. Surgeon General. About a year after we started treatment with CARD, we were able to see tremendous improvement, and we got our child back.
What grade are you in?
Second.
You are a smart cookie, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like school?
Yeah.
Do you have any good friends?
Yeah, Oscar.
Oscar is your best friend?
Yeah.
And my child is just one of thousands to benefit from CARD ABA therapy. Across the nation and around the world, children are making amazing progress and being given the keys to unlock their full potential.
Recovery from autism is absolutely a possibility. We've been recovering children for over 20 years. It's just a matter of identifying the child's medical needs, understanding the child's sensory issues, and then teaching the child all of the skills they need in order to function normally.
We know there's hope for autism. Autism is treatable and recovery from autism is possible. Welcome back to Autism Live. We had a little bit of a delay technologically, but we are thrilled to welcome to Autism Live a fabulous couple, John and Amanda Mussolino. They were featured last week on The Briefcase. If you're not watching this show on CBS, you should be. It's really good reality television. John and Amanda are parents, 3 kids, 1 on the autism spectrum, and you had an opportunity to be on this show. When you were on the show, did you know what it was you were going to be doing, John and Amanda?
No.
No.
We had no idea.
So they showed up with a briefcase to your house, $101,000, and you've got 3 kids, have had some financial difficulties, and one of your kids has autism. How badly could you use that money?
Very badly.
And you were in the middle of a bankruptcy, is that correct?
Yes. We were getting in the final year of our bankruptcy, yes.
Wow. And yet you were faced with a dilemma about whether to keep the money, give some of it away to another family, or give all of it away to the family. So we don't want to give away the show because I want people to be watching it on demand because it was so compelling. But is it safe to say that you guys were not in complete agreement in the beginning about what to do?
No.
Yes, it's safe to say we were not in agreement. We're still not in agreement.
All right, but you're sitting very close together. You must still be speaking to each other after all of this.
For your show, yes.
Well, my husband and I sat and watched it and had deep conversations about what would we have done. And I'm not going to give it away, but I have to say that you guys were much more generous than anybody else I know. How did it feel for you having participated in the show and having given some money away? How do you feel about it now after the fact?
Oh, we're fine with us. And everything.
Oh, and you're breaking up a little bit.
Have to see where the money. We could have had more, you know.
Yeah, we all.
It's 95 degrees.
Yeah, 100 degrees where we're at.
I'm so sorry, and you're breaking up a little bit. But you did get some money to leave with, and I think everybody who's watching that's an autism family wants to know how things are going now. Have you guys been able to reunite, and is your family all in one place? And we've lost them now. Such a bummer. And I wanted to know if they're all in one place. We may have to reconnect with John and Amanda on another time, but I will say, they're trying to get them back online, but I will say that this family is so compelling, and they have a business, Team Whippersnapper. We want to encourage people that if you are in the Florida area, have we got them back now, Kelby? John and Amanda, are you there? This connection's still not there. But we want to encourage, if you are in the Florida area and you're thinking about chartering a boat to go fishing, we want you to go to teamwhippersnapper.com, and you can be chartering a boat. Are you there? I thought I heard them for a second. They're in more than 100-degree weather. But they also have T-shirts that say Team Whippersnapper, and it says bait your own hook. So I encourage you, support this family. They were incredibly generous to a fault. I can hear you now, Amanda. Are you there? No, lost her again. We'll get them back on another day. That is what we will do. But I want to encourage you to support this family. Buy a T-shirt, go fishing, think good thoughts for this family because they did an amazing, amazing thing. And I want to encourage all of you to go watch The Briefcase on demand to see their episode, to see how much money they were left with and how much money they gave away. They say that what you give away comes back to you ×2, and I certainly hope that that's the case for this family. All right, we are going to take a break, and when we come back, we will have the fabulous Sue Cho, who is going to be joining us, talking about a new project that she's working on that will fill your heart with gratitude. So stick with us. We'll be right back.
Skills is an online program that provides assessment, curriculum, positive behavior support planning for challenging behavior, and progress tracking, and it does this all in one place. The skills assessment and curriculum addresses 8 areas of development, which even includes advanced higher level areas such as executive functions and cognition, which pretty much makes skills the only ABA-based set of curricula for teaching more complex skills, things like problem solving, planning, self-management, perspective taking, and even inferring and predicting others' private events. Skills is a 4-step system. Step 1 is to add the child to your account. Step 2 is to start assessment. The skills assessment is the only ABA-based assessment with psychometric research demonstrating the language subscale to have excellent reliability. Every area of human functioning and typical child development from infancy to adolescence was researched, making the skills assessment the most comprehensive of its kind in the world, and we're quite proud of that.
Skills is easy to use. Simply click Start Assessment and begin answering questions. Or simply type in a keyword, find specific activities to assess, and add activities to treatment. Step 3. Choose activities. Once you've completed the assessment, Skills selects from a pool of 4,000 activities categorized by age, level, and skill type to provide you with exactly those activities each child needs. Start by choosing a curriculum, then a lesson, and finally an activity. Click the information icon to view prerequisites, ages in which targets develop, examples, and IEP goals. Click the video icon to watch a short video. Once you've identified an activity you want to teach, adding activities to treatment is a snap. Step 4. Start treatment. Here you can access customizable activity lesson details, add your own customized targets and exemplars, and edit an activity status such as introducing or mastering it. You can even print handouts such as worksheets, tracking forms, visual aids, and other materials. Skills also offers multiple progress charts mapping curriculum progress, lesson progress, and cumulative number of activities and targets mastered over time. The Skills language curriculum is categorized by verbal behavior type so that users can identify progress for verbal operants, such as echoics, mans, tax, and interverbals.
Skills is one of the only programs that provides the ability to write behavior intervention plans, or BIPs, for challenging behavior.
With just a few clicks, the outline of the behavior intervention plan is written for you and ready to be printed and implemented.
You can learn more about Skills today and get started by visiting us at www.skillsforautism.com, or you can call us at 877-975-4559. Skills. Progress starts here.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We are going to journey right now to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where we're going to Skype with Sue Cho. She's been on our show many times. She's an amazing young woman who has been traveling the world helping individuals with autism for way many more years than you can tell by looking at her. But she's truly a wonderful expert in the field of autism. And on top of that, you're going to see that she is a remarkable human being, someone that we should be following in her footsteps. So first of all, Sue, we understand that you've got quite a storm going on in Baton Rouge right now.
Oh, yes.
So welcome and thank you for being with us despite the storm. We just heard some thunder a moment ago, so we'll keep people tuned on that. And if you need to take cover, let us know. But thrilled to have you with us here this morning. We were on the air with you live just a couple of weeks ago for Nancy Alspaugh Jackson's birthday, and I had an opportunity to see you that week while you were here locally, and you mentioned a really incredible project that you were working on personally, and we're thrilled to have you on the show, and I'm so excited that you're willing to tell our audience about it because I think everybody's going to be inspired. So tell us what it is that you have on your plate for this summer.
Great, thank you so much for letting me come on today and talk about my project. So at the beginning of the summer, I started taking a seminar, and basically the premise behind the seminar is for me and other members of the seminar to reach out to our communities and develop a community service project that will benefit others. And the thing that kept speaking to me over and over again was being able to give individuals with autism that didn't have access to a voice or a voice of their own, the ability to have a device. Because parents so often have such a costly, have a huge expense already of therapy. And with that, if they need a communication system, in addition to doing therapy, I mean, the cost can be absolutely outrageous and even more of a burden on a family. It can really limit a child from being able to connect with their family, their community, their friends, etc., and provide them freedom. And so in May, I decided that my community service project would be to get 60 communication devices for individuals that need communication systems by the end of the summer. And I've been working along with Act Today right now to identify individuals that are looking for devices. But basically, we're taking donations for iPads, Generation 2 and higher, Android devices as well, and a combination of either getting old devices that people are no longer using and then getting them prepared for client kids or people that need a voice, or getting donations for brand new devices too. And so far, the support from my community that I've reached out to just from having some conversations with people has been pretty tremendous. It's really inspiring. And so we're really looking to also, I'm really looking to take this beyond the summer too, though, and really make it a mission to connect with businesses, TV networks, anywhere, because nowadays everybody has some form of electronic device that they're using, it seems. And when new versions of it come out, many times people are upgrading and then the old ones aren't really used. And so I really found that that's a way that we could really get it out to many people that can't access their own words.
Well, I think it's remarkable. It's these kinds of things that definitely change the world. It's someone like yourself saying, okay, I'm going to take on this project. And starting with 60 devices, which is by no means a small feat, but setting that as your benchmark for the summer, really incredible. And I love that this is a passion of yours, that you are somebody who actually gives technology to a student and that helps them to access it and to be able to use that. I will tell you, we're having a little bit of technical difficulty, I think, because of the storm, but we're getting the message that you're saying, Sue. But I do want to go back over the fact that people can donate money to this project, or they can donate devices that they are no longer using, because you can repurpose them. And you are taking both Mac devices and Android devices. Is that correct?
Yes. So if you have an old iTouch, if you have an old iPhone, if you have an iPad that you're no longer using, an iPad mini, an Android, and those are the main devices that we're taking, because a couple of people asked me about Kindles and that type of thing, but unfortunately there aren't any technology or app platforms that facilitate communication. So that's why right now we're limiting it to Mac products and Android.
Really remarkable. And so where can people go to donate? Where do you want them to visit?
Right now, if you go to the Act Today site, we're in the process of putting a link on there. So if you have questions right now or want to make a monetary donation, you can donate through the Act Today site and then specifically indicate that you want it to go to a device.
I'm going to need you to repeat that because we lost you a little bit, Sue. Where should they specifically say that they want to donate to?
There is a Facebook page launching.
Okay.
So they can do it on the Act Today page.
But what is the name of when they specify that they want it to go to this project?
My Own Words.
My Own Words. That's the name of the project. My Own Words. What a powerful, powerful name. Okay, and you're making a Facebook page, so we'll update our viewers about what that Facebook page is. Really remarkable, Sue. I'm very excited. And if everybody thinks about this, you may have a business or work for a business that frequently, as you said, gets rid of technology because you upgrade it. I know that currently there are 3 iPhones in our home that within the next year we're going to want to upgrade. And what I love about this is a way of using the technology so that I hate to just think of dumping something and where does that end up. But you're okay with technology that's a little out of sync because you have different things that you want to do with the kids with it than the most up-to-date kind of thing, correct?
Exactly. So it doesn't need a 3G card, or it doesn't need a phone plan that goes with it. Really, all it needs is the platform for or the hardware, and then the software can be added to it. But it's for things that are generation 2 and up as far as iPads go.
Okay,
because we need a
generation 2
camera on
and
it.
up. Okay, so you do need them with a camera. That's something that will be very important, that it does have a camera on it. Okay, wonderful. So my own words, you can go to act-today.org. You can donate money. If they want to donate devices, do they just mail them to Act Today, Sue?
Yes, well, actually, again, that'll be posted within the next week. I apologize that that hasn't been put up yet, but I will definitely send you the link with all the instructions on how to send a device over, and we'll keep you updated as it goes along.
You're remarkable. We want to be able to hear about how this goes. You've got 60 pieces of technology by the end of the summer. What's the end date for you? Is it the September end of summer, or is it the Labor Day end of summer?
Labor Day.
Labor Day. Okay, so
Yes,
60 devices by Labor Day. And I want to be, I'm sure that on your Facebook you'll have some way that you'll let us know how you're doing on your challenge. And we'd love it if you check back with us to let us know. Because we're pulling for you. We want this to happen. I missed the last thing you said, Sue. We might have you frozen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being with us this morning. And again, I think you're remarkable. It is amazing what one person can do. When I think about what those 60 devices are going to do for 60 people on the autism spectrum, that is world-changing, Sue.
Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for everything, Shannon.
Thank you. You're an inspiration to all of us. You have a wonderful day and stay dry in your storm.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was Sue Cho, an amazing young woman with an amazing mission. Again, she is someone who is a therapist who works with individuals on the autism spectrum and helps them to access technology and find their words using that technology. So what a wonderful, wonderful project. We wish her well, and I hope that you will participate. Act-Today, My Own Words is the name of the project. We'll keep you updated on it. We'll be right back after these messages.
If you're watching Autism Live, chances are you care about the life of someone, or perhaps many people, living with autism. You spend countless hours trying to make a better life for them. It may not have been easy for you to watch the show today. You know, sometimes you could be juggling so many balls in the air, you feel like a circus performer. I remember recently saying to a friend that as the mother of a son with autism, plus all the other challenges in my life, I feel like I'm carrying a tray full of glasses of water, and that if one of them topples over, the whole thing is going to go crashing down. This empowerment moment is all about you. Now, I'm not a doctor or a therapist, but over the last 9 years in my autism journey, I've learned some things that have helped me shift from being a victim to having hope. See, I've been in that place, down on the kitchen floor, on my knees, praying for answers of what happened to my child. I've been in that place, covered with blood and tears, after one of Wyatt's giant tantrums, where I said, "Where has my fairy tale life gone?" I have a feeling you're a member of that kitchen floor club too. It's been a process, but I've come from that place of being a victim to becoming an advocate for my son Wyatt, and for many others as the executive director of ACT Today, or Autism Care and Treatment Today. Let's start with reframing the way you think about yourself and your child. I want you to say after me, I'm an activist. That's right. I'm an activist because just by watching this program, you are taking positive steps to make the world a better place for your child or someone else living with autism. You are a positive force of action in the world. I want you to start thinking of your so-called disability as an opportunity, because it's within our challenges that our greatness is revealed. That's where we find our courage and resiliency. And parenting a child with autism is one of the greatest challenges a parent can face. You have the choice to see this as a journey of self-discovery. Some people take expeditions to climb Mount Everest to see what they're made of. You don't have to travel that far, because parenting a child with autism is an expedition of the soul. Until next time, stay strong and keep the faith.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod, and so thrilled with the guests that we have had on the show today. All this week we've been talking about paying it forward, and we very deliberately ended the week with some amazing guests who are showing you how they're paying it forward. One of the things that I want you to notice is how happy they are about it. And we talk all the time on the show about it doesn't matter how difficult things are for you, what you're facing, if you can find it, and sometimes, you know, it's not there, but if you can find it in your heart to figure out something to do for somebody else, it is a miracle pill. You always feel better. I think, though, one of the things that we have to keep in mind is that sometimes when we think about, well, I want to do something, right? The first idea that comes to mind is something that's huge, something that might take years to get to fruition. And that's not a bad thing. But just like when we teach our kids, we have to have a positive reinforcer that's much sooner for us. And, you know, I would love to say, well, you know, we do things for other people and without an expectation of anything back. But the truth is, the reason why people do good acts over and over and over again is for that reinforcement of the good feeling. So don't plan something that is so huge that it's insurmountable. And don't plan something that extends you past your means. We talk about this all the time, that it doesn't take money and it doesn't take a whole lot of time to do something for somebody else. So I want you to be thinking about that today. And you know what they say about charity starts close to home. Who in your house or in your direct circle can you do something for today? It might even be yourself, right? And that's a wonderful thing when you find a moment to give something to yourself. It might be a moment of peace, a moment of meditation that you haven't given yourself in a long time. If you are like a lot of us that you struggle with meditation, Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson the other day, we are taking our kids to the same fabulous educational tutor, and I walked in to bring Jem to his appointment and didn't realize that she was the appointment right before me. And you would have thought that we hadn't seen each other in 300 years. We were like laughing and crying and hugging each other as if we hadn't seen, you know. And I think we'd been on the phone an hour before, but we didn't know that we were going to see each other. And we sat there and we're talking about meditation because Nancy is very good about getting her meditation on. I am not. And she said to me, why won't you give this to yourself? And I said, oh, you know, sometimes I just don't, like, my monkey brain keeps going when I stop. And she said, well, you need to find a guided meditation. I said, oh, yes, we did that. Autism Live did that. There is a free guided meditation for you on our blog. You just have to go back a little ways through the blogs to see where it is. But there is a guided for stressed out parents. It's 11 minutes long. We all have 11 minutes. You will hear my voice, which I apologize for, but it is a guided meditation to help you have more of a centered base so that you can do everything that you do with joy. We can all do that, including myself. I could do my own meditation so that I would know what to think, because sometimes that's what stops us. So if you cannot think of somebody else to do something for, please, at the very least, do this for yourself. Take 10 or 11 minutes of either guided meditation or silence. I would tell you to take an extra long shower or soak in the bathtub, but we're in the middle of a drought. So instead, find a quiet moment for yourself. And a wonderful thing to give if you know other parents is to give them 10 minutes. when you think about it, how often do we waste 10 minutes on so many other things? If you were to give a parent 10 minutes so that they could have that moment of guided meditation, what a lovely gift. It doesn't have to cost, and it doesn't have to be a weekend away in Maui, right, to make a difference. But this is how we pay it forward. And again, I go back to the example that when you pay it forward, it comes to you times two. When we look at the piece of our wonderful guests on the show today, and what it meant to them to give and to pay it forward, it's better than any amount of money. And that's saying a lot, right? In any case, thrilled that we're having a moment to think about that, because if we have the moment to think about, even thinking about paying forward, that's a good day, right? If the building were on fire, we wouldn't be thinking about paying it forward. Just my 2 cents. It's been a long day. In any case, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and close out the show. Stick with us. Here, mid-swing on this wonderful day, this wonderful walk with Mr. Matt Asner. Talk to us about today's walk. Do we have any facts, figures, numbers, or just pure emotion?
Just pure emotion. I'm about to get the numbers. We'll see what it is. Okay. I think it's probably close to 1.6, probably. That's my feeling. But it's incredible. We had 55,000 people plus here today, and you know, I honestly, I've been here 7 years. It gets better and better and better. So.
And really, what you've fostered here today is hope. I know that's your favorite four-letter word.
Where are we without hope?
Where are we?
Really, I mean, seriously, where are we without hope? Hope is everything. Hope is eternal.
This is a pretty big event. Every year I love it. What does this event mean to you?
Well, I just think it's great that you see so many people coming out to support, autism.
So we're here with Max Burkholder. In your life, there's a whole community of people that are going to love you no matter what you do, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, and that's the autism community. Are you okay with this? Is this a good thing?
I'm pretty okay with it. This seems to be a pretty happy, supportive community.
Well, what did you learn about autism through portraying this wonderful character?
Sort of the individuality of it. You know, like with autism spectrum disorders, a tendency is to sort of generalize everybody with sort of the same degree of affliction as sort of exactly the same, and very generalize them a lot. But something I found while just talking to everybody, and that I tried to put into the characters, just the sense of individuality that all of them have, everybody has. And so at a certain point it became not really even portraying autism, it just sort of became portraying the character.
I want to thank you on behalf of everybody for what you do.
That's very sweet.
To bring awareness and to raise money. That's a tremendous, tremendous legacy. But as a dad, you've got other things that you're doing as well.
Yeah.
I want to know, as a family, if you have any advice, what's been something that's been helpful to you personally?
You know, get your autistic kids out in the community. I mean, my son's got a guide dog, so he goes to a lot of cool places. He surfs, he skis, does gymnastics. He's actually trying Hebrew school. I'm not quite sure if he knows what's happening there, but he does all kinds of cool things, and he has a lot of friends. Right now, most of his friends are the adults who take care of him, and over time, hopefully he'll have more friends who are his age, and you'll see him walking around, and people won't be nervous around him. The dog's been very helpful with that. It's like the dog is like the most infectious thing in the world. Like, everybody wants to be near the dog, and he sees that, and he gets some of that affection laid onto him. So as a family, you know, we're just there to support Tyler and make him happy.
It was a very fun day, and I think it's our thing now at Autism Walks that we do paintings, because these handprints that you see behind me were done at an Autism Walk too, and that was my child being painted. He had such a great time that day. In any case, we're at the end of our show today. We're, as I mentioned at the start of the show, we're celebrating so much that tomorrow my son is graduating from 6th grade. We're celebrating Mr. Kelby Wood's birthday. Lots of celebrations going on around here. So we will not be here on Tuesday and Wednesday. I have a need to go to amusement parks with my 12-year-old child. But we will be back on Thursday, and we have a big show for you on Thursday. We will be here with Dr. Adele Nadowski and Louise Jean Brady, who is the author of Apps for Autism. You know, what a wonderful book when it first came out. It was featured on 60 Minutes, and it was so thrilling, all these different apps that she rated and told us about. And of course, then more apps came along, and so she's got an updated version of it that she's going to be talking with us about next Thursday. That's our only show for that week. And we are not doing shows the week after because Mr. Kelby Wood will be on vacazione, which he desperately needs and has earned. So in any case, next Thursday is your only opportunity for live Autism Live within the next 2 weeks. And it's a good, big show, so I don't want you to miss it. I want to tell you all how much I appreciate you and how much I enjoy being on this journey with you. I've gotten to meet a bunch more people in the last week. We went to Bakersfield last Saturday, and as I said, we were at Orange County, Autism Orange County on Tuesday night. It was such a wonderful thrill, and I hope that we're going to get to meet more of you at Stephanie's Day, which is coming up a week from Saturday as well. We'll be talking about that next Thursday. But I thank you all for being a part of this journey. When I watch my child graduate from 6th grade, it will be with the knowledge that you've all helped, that we've all done this together. Now, see, you got me all emotional. But in any case, such a thrill and a privilege to be here with you, and I thank you for letting me into your homes and your offices. Thank you because you've held my hand. Thank you for holding my hand. Si se puede, we can do this together. We can do this. I love and appreciate you. I hope you do some celebrating of your own this weekend. And as I said, we'll be back next Thursday. Until then, please give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.